Chappelle supposedly had it all: a $50 million contract from Comedy Central, a hit TV show, best-selling DVDs.
Then on April 28th of last year, Dave abruptly walked away, not only from the set of his show, but from $50 million, which left his fans shocked and most everyone completely puzzled.
How could one of the most promising comedians of recent history have left a successful television series? How could he have walked away from a $50 million contract?
Because, when you're a guy that generates money, people have a vested interest in controlling. Because, when you're a guy that generates money, people have a vested interest in controlling. Because, when you're a guy that generates money, people have a vested interest in controlling.
In May of 2005, Dave Chappelle walked away from his $50 million Comedy Central contract and fled to Africa. He didn't tell any of his family members, including his wife and children, until he got to Africa. Now, according to his cousin's testimony, what prompted this was that Dave was called into the executive's office and was seated at a round table of rich executive Illuminati types who basically told him he needed to cut out some of the material he had been doing as far as his depiction of black people. They didn't like his honest take on certain characters and portrayals because, according to his cousin, they were grooming Obama to become the next president, and they felt this being threatened by Dave's show. When Dave refused to compromise his creative license and artistic vision, they offered him $50 million to change the show to the way they wanted. Again, Dave refused. He left that meeting badly shaken. It sounds like he had a run-in with the Illuminati and was feeling implicitly threatened by some very powerful people. It was at this point he fled to Africa. The media portrayed it the same way they do whenever controlled celebrity begins to break down due to Illuminati pressure. They say he or she is having a psychotic breakdown, a meltdown, a mental breakdown, you name it. They said Dave was overwhelmed by fame, couldn't handle the pressure. Dave had nothing of the sort. He loved the limelight. No, he experienced the brush with something very powerful and sinister and was scared out of his wits. He was careful not to name names or get specific about it during interviews, but if you read between the lines and combine that with his cousin's testimony, you get a clear picture, which sounds like someone trying to evade assassination. In the end, it was his love for the limelight that would be his downfall as he returned to Hollywood in 2006. If what his cousin is saying is true, he should have stayed in Africa. But he came back and initially laid low, doing local stand-up shows, but refraining from returning to Hollywood and television. He eventually felt like he needed to talk and let his story out, and so he agreed to his own demise to do this famous Oprah interview. It was during this interview that Dave began to spill the beans about the Illuminati's presence and influence within Hollywood. Shortly after this interview, Dave Chappelle disappeared and was replaced by an imposter lookalike or a clone. The Dave Chappelle we all know and love has not been seen since this interview. So the question becomes, who is the imposter? Who is the clone playing the part of Dave Chappelle today in 2021? In a side-by-side comparison, we can see the original Dave on the left versus the imposter Dave on the right. I can see some clear differences. Can you? First off, the thing that most people notice is that the new Dave, Imposter Dave, is really buff. I mean, Imposter Dave looks more like Barry Bonds jacked out of his mind on human growth hormone. The original Dave on the left had a natural, bony, skinny, gangly body structure all throughout his entire career in his 20s and in his 30s. He was a very naturally skinny, bony, gangly man. And then he disappeared, went to Africa, came back, did an Oprah Winfrey interview, still skinny, still gangly, and then disappeared again, only to return as this insanely jacked buff guy who looks like he's been mainlining steroids. So let's move on to the next thing I notice. Dave on the left, the original Dave, has a darker skin tone than does Imposter Dave. In fact, it's pretty obvious that the skin tone is 2 different shades of black and/or brown, I should say. Dave on the left, the original Dave, is just a darker human being than is Dave on the right. So we are to believe that Dave disappeared, came back, did an Oprah interview, disappeared again, came back jacked, buff, and changed his skin tone. Also, if we zoom in on the face, we can see even more detail. It is said that the devil is in the detail, and when you look at a side-by-side comparison of the original Dave versus the Imposter Dave, it's clear to see that these are 2 different faces. In fact, this is why you see Imposter Dave always wearing those stupid sunglasses. The original Dave didn't always walk around with big stupid sunglasses, not that I ever remember. And now, Imposter Dave can't help but walk around with big stupid sunglasses on, even when he's indoors. So, what is he covering up with those big stupid sunglasses? It's that facial structure that they didn't quite get 100% correct. They don't quite have a perfect clone and/or imposter, but they did find a guy who somehow, someway, does look just enough like Dave to convince enough sheeple, who I guess really never got to know the real Dave, never followed the real Dave. But they have this imposter who does just a good enough job to convince the sheeple that it is the original Dave Chappelle, and thus the $50 million, $60 million, $100 million, God knows how much money this imposter is worth stepping into the shoes of the original Dave Chappelle. They keep the money machine rolling, and they influence popular black opinion. Believe it or not, folks, it's not about the money as much as it is about influencing popular black opinion. Whenever a human being can control and influence what black people think, then it is a vested interest in the government to control that person. I think the motive to replace Dave more so lies in the fact that he was basically the voice of young black America, and they viewed him as a threat. So they got rid of him and replaced him with cuck slave Dave, the fakest clone of them all, and the sheeple have bought it. But not all of us have bought this imposter. In fact, the more videos like this that surface, the more the community grows. And the ultimate goal of this community is to find out what the hell happened to the real Dave and who is this guy playing the part of Imposter Dave. Now, some people do claim they know who the imposter Dave Chappelle is, and they claim it is this man, Bokeem Woodbine, an American actor who apparently looks really similar to the Dave Chappelle clone imposter. So on just looks alone, this guy kinda looks like Dave Chappelle, kinda looks like the Dave Chappelle imposter, and he's about the same age and about the same body style as the imposter. So, as I was looking through pictures, oddly enough, within a few pictures, I found a picture of Dave Chappelle within Bokeem Woodbine's pictures, and I didn't go digging super deep. This was like within a page or two of pictures, you find Dave Chappelle included in with Bokeem Woodbine. So is that just some sort of mistake? Or is Bokeem Woodbine Dave Chappelle, and that's like a sick little slap in the face to us all to include his picture in there? Again, I can't prove or disprove Dave Chappelle is being played by this actor or has been played by this actor at any point. However, it is an interesting piece of evidence, and I incline all of you to go ahead and do your own research, and maybe you can look into this even farther than I have, and maybe find some more compelling evidence and post it in the comment section down below. In the comments section down below, feel free, if you have any evidence or you have anything to bring to the table as far as this particular conspiracy is concerned, feel free to leave your comments down below. In fact, I prefer if you do.
I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like, when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, all these brothers gotta wear a dress. This happened to me. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here. They come in. The writer comes in. I think he's the writer. He's like, Dave, listen, we got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail. So he disguises you as a prostitute. And he put this dress on, and what? A prostitute? Nah, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with that? I mean, it's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it. So, well, if all the greats have done it, it's kind of hacky, right? You're a writer. So why don't we just not do it? Because I don't feel comfortable wearing a dress. Oh, come on, Dave. Listen, we got it all set up. We're supposed to shoot. Every minute you waste costs this much money. No, the pressure comes in. He said, I'm not wearing no dress, man. I'm funnier than a dress. Just give me something funny to say. I don't need to wear no dress to be funny. What am I, Milton Berle? You know, we're going like this. And then finally he's like, and he leaves. And then like the director comes, Dave, it really would be great if you wear the dress. What is wrong? What is this, Brokeback Mountain in here? So then, now the producers comes, come on, David, would be so great. I mean, and then I started thinking about it. All the comics that I've seen, man, you know, strong brothers, why they be putting us in these dresses? But the minute it was clear, I was adamant, I'm not wearing a dress, I'm not wearing the dress. All right, fine, think of something else. Guy comes back 10 minutes later, the whole new scene. Damn, how did you write the scene so fast? You know, it's like, so you gotta take a stand. You know, when we did Blue Streak, we were promoting it, you know, and Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me? What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy, they're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick. I'm good, man.
It's very good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And I speak for myself here when I say also we were very, very excited that you put out these comedy specials. 13 years, like a locust, you have returned with these. Why did you decide to put 2 of them out?
Money.
Money.
I'm scared.
Why did you decide to put 2 of them out?
Money.
Money.
I'm scared. I did, you know, I just started making them. I made them, and then I shelved them, and then they bought them.
Did you make them thinking, oh, I'll sell these one day, or do you think, like, oh, well, these might not be so timely anymore? I mean, which, you know, they are, certainly, but did you worry about that?
No.
No. Not at all.
No, because it's like I don't get mad at a photograph because it's not today.
You said, talking about money, everybody knows that you got a tremendous amount of money. I think, well, what I read was $60 million for 3 specials. 2 of them you had in the closet already.
I literally just took them out of the closet like...